Sort of growing up, playing in football, it was something that was never mentioned.
This says very clearly that professional footballers are at greater risk.
And I'm sure that does have some significance. My name is Les Brad. My current role is Ambassador of Notts County Football Club, which has followed quite a long career working as a player, working as a commercial operator for Notts County and more recently Ambassador. I was brought up on reading comics. There wasn't too many televisions around in those days, and watching Roy Race in the of Roy of the Rovers, who scoring goals in the comic, diving headers. That was something that I think I wanted to try and achieve. Dementia is not something that I've really thought about. Obviously, I've been aware of Jeff Astle through his daughter, closely associated with Notts County. Jeff played for Notts where he started his career. Sort of growing up, playing in football, it was something that was never mentioned, but over recent years we've got to hear of the association with heading a football and getting Alzheimer's or dementia or brain health issues. One of the guys that was around here who was advising us on heading a football, how to head a football correctly, was Tommy Lawton, who'd had a great career for not only Notts County but England. Probably one of the greatest headers of a football ever. And on Wednesday afternoons, he used to take myself for coaching sessions. He used to put some blankets down up against the wall, give us a piece of chalk. We had to stand on the blanket and then jump and put a mark on the wall as high as we could. He was very much into making sure that the neck muscles were in good shape to head the ball.
Winners! Dementia is considered a neurodegenerative disease. It's one of many neurodegenerative diseases. Typically happens older in life. The older we get, the more likely we are to have dementia. And essentially what it is a breakdown of the neural structure of the brain. We get deposits in the brain that inhibit function. So these functions that we're talking about are things like memory, things like we call it executive functions, or ability to plan or ability to think. So we know that retired professional footballers are more susceptible to get the disease. There's a study called the Field Study that came out in 2019. What they did is look at the medical records of former professional footballers, and they compared those medical records to about 24,000 otherwise healthy people who were not professional footballers, so the general public. And what they found was at that time, they found that there was a 5 times greater risk of getting dementia if one has played professional football compared to everybody else.
On average, during a 90-minute game, a striker or a centre-half would possibly head the ball around 30 times in a game. An analyst told me here that to match, I'm talking about in the last 3 years, the centre-half headed the ball 9 times. That's the change in football today to what it was in my day. My brother, who was now suffering with dementia, he was a big help to me in governing my life, sort of following retirement. He said it's important that you don't get up in the morning without a game plan. So I try and sort my life out as a 7-day cycle, and I've got something going on each day that I can change if I wish, but I'm waking up with something to do. It must have been tough for the players before 1966, because the balls then were leather, and when it was wet they got very heavy. I was quite fortunate that the early years of my career they were plastic coated balls that never suffered through the wet grounds, and I'm sure that does have some significance, the weight of the ball possibly heading then to what it is nowadays.
The brain sits inside of a hard cranium. So it's hard bone, but it's essentially then floating in a pool of fluid we call cerebrospinal fluid. So when we hit with that either that direct hit to the head or the indirect hit that might cause a whiplash effect, the brain now is wobbling inside the cranium. That wobbling is causing some damage. What happens is you have to think about the brain tissue as jelly. And what happens when you take jelly and put it in a bowl and then knock the side of the bowl? That jelly will wobble for a bit. That wobbling is stretching and rotating the nerves that are the communication pathways in the brain. And it's causing inflammatory damage and it's causing structural damage. So the brain stops functioning for a bit. We see stars, we have a headache, we don't know where we are, balance problems. I mean, we get far more subclinical insults than we have actual concussive insults. So current thinking is it's those subclinical insults that we might get in training. So these would be all the times that we had the ball, for example, and it didn't cause symptoms of a concussion. Maybe you saw stars a little bit, but you got up and you were okay. That would be what we call subclinical. And those, from my perspective, and from a CTE perspective, those are the more serious ones because we don't know they're happening and we'll just get out and practice maybe on that same day even and carry on injuring the brain. One of the questions that needs to be answered is do these effects that we absolutely see in professional footballers, to what extent does that apply in the recreational football world? An example of that is the walking football that people are doing sort of as they get older. So maybe they played, proper contact football when they were youngsters. They still love the game when they're over 65, but they don't want that contact. They're really brilliant leagues now for walking football.
I am the chairman of Bramcote Walking Football Club. We play on a Wednesday. We play in various leagues as well, but the main entertainment is on a Wednesday where we have 2 sessions starting at 12:15 till 1:15 and then 1 o'clock till 2 o'clock. There's no contact at all in walking football. You're not meant to contact at all, whereas obviously you're bound to get quite a bit of contact in the running game, and we like to encourage anybody to come along. I mean, we've had on occasions people with quite severe disabilities. We always try and include them in the game. So if they're sort of standing there, we always make sure that they receive the ball and that they can kick the ball away, being untackled and things like that.
Well, go away for a whistle. Andy, say when. Okay. When?
I knew a few lads that played walking football, so I was introduced to it from there. It's enjoyable. It's an enjoyable group session, and it certainly helps my well-being anyway.
Johnny. What's on it, Johnny?
Well, the SCORE study has just started, and of course, because it's a longitudinal study, the major goals are going to be coming in the future. So we've got data from a few hundred people for the last 4 years, but we really need to follow them through over the next few years to start to see the individual changes. So those will be our big findings. At the moment, what we've demonstrated is that those people who have played sport, be it contact sport or non-contact sport, have better brain health than the average person who hasn't been playing sport. So it really emphasizes the notion that sport is good for you. However, over the age of 65, our data is similar to that field study in that those people that have played contact sport, their brains are worse off than those who have not played contact sport. And what we found is those amateur footballers, so we've looked at professional footballers and amateur footballers, and the professional footballers, their brains are worse off over 65 than the amateurs.